Hey guys, it's Shayla again from Freckle Finance, and today I'm going to do another pregnancy update. So I am 37 weeks tomorrow. Now I know I was doing bi-weekly pregnancy updates and then I skipped and didn't post anything for 2 months. The reason I'm doing one week later for my last one is there has been a lot that has happened, and secondly, there will be no more updates because next week I will be induced. So basically where we left off last week, I was diagnosed with cholestasis of pregnancy, and that means you cannot go full term with your baby and you definitely cannot go past. Now adjusting to that diagnosis was really rough just because the rates of stillbirth are quite high. I don't have like a severe diagnosis of it. I'm basically borderline on the diagnosis where some doctors would induce at different amounts of time, but there are lots of people with cholestasis that need to be induced prior to what I am right now. So I've been getting twice a week NSTs, and that means that they put something on my belly to track his movements and something to track his heart rate, and they just make sure that everything's going okay for that, and everything has been going really, really well. So I'm still doing that twice a week, and then we had the heat wave last weekend. Let me tell you how not fun that was. So first of all, I went into my appointment last Friday and I was 2 centimeters dilated and the baby is quite low. I was told that cervical checks are painful, and I said to my doctor, oh man, like this wasn't painful at all. It was like maybe just slightly uncomfortable. And she was like, that's because your baby has pushed your cervix down low enough that it was easy for me to get to. She was actually quite shocked about being that far along, considering that I was only 36 weeks and a first-time mom. She said most first-time moms are not dilating on their own this early in a pregnancy. So there has been a little bit of hope that I will go into labor naturally on my own. If I had to guess, I would say that I might be even more dilated now, or at least he has moved even lower. Now I'm basing that on the fact that just the shape of my belly right now looks different, and there's this spot that used to look cohesively flow, you know, like it would arch the way it arches cohesively, and now it doesn't do that. So I think he's maybe moved even lower. It's been difficult standing, difficult sitting for too long, difficult bending because he is very, very low. So I had asked about kind of what are the plans for inductions, and she said that she does not want me to go past 38 weeks, that if I was showing an increase in symptoms that they would consider 37 weeks. So my appointment is tomorrow. I haven't gone in. I am a little more itchy, but since I just had an ultrasound that I will talk to you about, I really don't think that they're going to be inducing me like at 37 weeks. So there's still time for me to go into labor naturally, but obviously I've been sitting here, you know, already dilating for over a week now from what I can assume. Yeah, no labor yet. So I had read up on different types of medication and what they use to induce, and I had heard horrible, horrible things about Cryotech, and so I just wanted to make sure with my doctor that like Cryotech would not be used. She never even mentioned it. I didn't even ask her about it. She said that she would use Cervical, but that if I was 4 centimeters dilated, I wouldn't have to do that portion, which that portion is they insert it vaginally and it's supposed to ripen the cervix. There's a good chance that if I don't go into labor on my own by 38 weeks, that I will just have to use Pitocin. And she said overall just using Pitocin can be a lot easier on the body, so it's not as hard of an induction, and the fact that my body is already responding and preparing for labor should hopefully make induction not as bad, because I've never watched one video where someone was like, I was induced and it was amazing, or like it was a good birth experience, you know. And on top of that, I kind of asked my doctor, like, I still don't really want to use an epidural, and she kind of gave me a look like it's very, very rare for someone to not get an epidural during an induction, because it is a lot more painful apparently. So I'm not really looking forward to that. But she did say that some people can be given a bit of Pitocin, especially if they're already preparing for labor, and their body just takes over and they can go off of it, and then it's fine and natural from there. So I feel like we are going to try that first. But yeah, I'm really nervous. And then after that appointment, I was given a blood test to check my liver again. I don't think they did the bile levels, but they just checked to make sure that nothing else was going on with my liver, because it's not particularly like a liver issue per se. Like, it is, but it goes away after pregnancy, and they just want to make sure everything else. So that came back good. I also got the GBS, I think it's called Group B strep test, and that came back negative, so that means I won't be hooked up to antibiotics during delivery, and that's really good, because if I do any portion of this without any painkillers, you know, of some sort, then I want to be able to walk around, because walking is very relaxing for me, and it can also help progress labor, which, by the way, I'm going on daily walks now. I can't make it more than a half hour without having to go to the washroom though, so I don't walk for too long, but I am going on daily walks trying to help speed things along. The last thing they checked was my platelet levels. Now, I mentioned a while ago in a video, or at least I think I did, about my platelet levels being low. The last time I was tested, it was 152. Now this is 152,000, but I'm just shortening it. And low levels are considered below 150. Now, they retested and I'm at 104, which means my levels have continued to drop. And the importance of platelets is for coagulation, so basically to clot your blood. Some hospitals don't allow epidurals below 100. My doctor said that my hospital doesn't allow it below 80, but I kind of took the time period between the two tests and my results and how long it's going to be before I'm induced, and the reduction could have sped up recently, but just going based off that, it looks like I will still be above the amount at 38 weeks to not have to be induced. Sorry, to be allowed to have an epidural if I need one, which I don't want one, but like I said, if it's going to be really, really painful, I'm not going to like torture myself. Anyways, either way, I am concerned, which is another reason I'm really, really trying to get this labor going on its own and naturally, because yeah, I gotta say, I'm pretty scared of the prospect of having to be induced and not being allowed to have an epidural. It just does not sound fun. But I keep telling myself, like, I'm preparing for this as a possibility, and I actually asked her what our options would be, and I think there must be like a lot of different options, because she said, you know, we'll deal with it if it happens, and I'm gonna get my blood tested again tomorrow to check my levels again. So, and then I believe no matter what, they'll be testing me again at the hospital, but at least if it has gone too low now, or if it continues to go low, we can start preparing for it a little bit more. I did read online that you can still take narcotics through an IV. The babies can kind of be born. I mean, it goes into the baby, and so it's not something I want to do. So I feel like I can convince myself that the pain would be better than taking narcotics that's going to be in the baby, and they have to stop apparently 2 hours or something like that before the baby comes out anyways, just so the baby's not like basically high on narcotics when they come out. So that seems like basically the only other pain option that I could find online, and it's not one that I approve of. As well, the other thing about low platelet levels is if you can't get an epidural, you usually can't get a spinal block either, which they're very similar. Apparently the spinal block needle is smaller. And so the chances of me having to be put fully under for a C-section if I were to need one is pretty high at that point too, and that's even more terrifying to me than just going naturally, and obviously we're going to try to avoid that as much as possible. Now, that being said, the baby is obviously head down because he's very, very low, and he was in the right direction. So the only way I can really see having a C-section is if he goes into distress while in labor, which is a possibility. It happens. I've heard stories. You know, perfectly normal pregnancies without any issues have had babies go into distress, so it definitely can happen, but here's to hoping that a C-section will not be required. So I'd mentioned the heat and then totally skipped past it going on all these updates. So yeah, on the weekend it was very hot. I live in the Bay Area. We were at you know, about 107 degrees Fahrenheit at the highest, which is about 42 degrees Celsius. So I'm getting pretty good at these conversions now. I mean, Canada gets hot, Canada gets to 42 degrees, but when we moved here, we were told that you will not need AC, no big deal, it's not going to be an issue. And so we have no AC in this. We rented a place with no AC because it was cheaper to get a place with no AC. We also don't own a fan. And I, for whatever reason, didn't prepare for this whole fact that they were telling us there was going to be this heat wave, and I didn't think to buy a fan. It never really crossed my mind until like I'm sweating profusely in my house, and even now, like, it still gets really hot. I don't know if it like traps the heat in this house or something like that, but I'm still slightly sweaty. I was having trouble sleeping because it was so hot. We went out and tried to buy a fan. Of course, there's no fans available, and my doctor was basically like, I'm out of town, just so you know, and women are more likely to go into labor during the heat. So I was trying to not go into labor because I do want to be 37 weeks at least, which is early term. So I was taking cold baths. We were out of the house as much as we could be. I wouldn't even cook at home or anything like that. So we were eating out a lot. Just, I needed to get out of the house. There's a lot of restaurants in this area though that don't have air conditioning in them either. So that was a whole other thing. But basically, being very pregnant and very warm was not fun at all. And it was like so difficult to have enough fluids and yeah, but anyways, thank goodness that heat wave is over, and I didn't go into labor. I'm still here pregnant, so that's good. Lastly, for appointments, I mentioned I had an ultrasound appointment. That was just a growth scan, just because my baby was in the 22nd percentile the last time we had a growth scan. And I feel like it's because we're inducing early that they wanted to schedule one, because they just wanted to make sure that he was weighing enough and that everything was going good. And so he's apparently 6 pounds, so that's good. He's above the preemie size. I mean, these are all estimated, right? They can't guarantee the exact size. And the ultrasound went really, really well, but the doctor comes in for the ultrasound, and this is not my OB, it's within the same company, but it's a different location and everything. Whew, it's getting even hotter in here because I opened up the windows for light. Or not open up the windows, I opened up the blinds for light. So we went there, and the doctor comes in, and me and my husband are like, this is not, like, he has this look on his face, like, that he's not gonna give me good news. And I don't know why, but I was like worried about the placenta, because basically when the ultrasound tech was scanning through everything, she was like, this is good, this is good, this is good, your baby's 6 pounds, blah, 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 everything's good. She never mentioned one thing about the placenta. And a placenta can be an issue with cholestasis. That's one possible reason to cause stillbirth. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with my placenta. Luckily, baby's still kicking, so I'm assuming if that was the case, like, I just would have probably been induced that day, which was yesterday. But no, this is like the strangest experience I've ever had. So he's so concerned, and also he pulls out the picture of the placenta. And I'm like, oh, see, I'm so right. There's something wrong with the placenta. Basically, he doesn't agree with my induction date. So he's like, I reviewed your lab work, and I don't agree that you should be induced next week. And here I'm thinking that he's going to tell me that I should be going to 42 weeks or something like that, which scared me from what I saw online about cholestasis. And he just basically was like, you know, by some standards, you've barely met requirements. I'm not excessively itchy. And I even said to him that I was trying to find studies online regarding this, and all the studies were only showing those who had bile levels of 40, and I'm at 10, which is, like, 10 is the beginning point of a diagnosis. Now, it can increase throughout pregnancy, and it probably has a bit. But he was like, I personally don't feel you should be induced at 38 weeks. I feel you should be induced at 39 weeks. So it's like I've got this whole thing going with like a 1 week difference. So my opinion is that doctors have personal experiences that shape the risks that they're willing to take when I was at my doctor's appointment, now I will say my doctor said this to reassure me, but it also kind of scared me a bit. She basically said that she's only ever had one baby die from cholestasis, and that person's bile levels were extremely high. So, I mean, I have a feeling she's maybe more on the cautious side because of the death of this baby, and I mean, if she wants to be more cautious, I just, like, it's not something I want to risk, and I really don't think that it will happen to my baby, but then again, other moments I'm like convinced it's gonna happen, because that's just, it's just how it is sometimes when you're pregnant and have lots of time to think about things and worry about things. But anyways, he said he would speak to my doctor, and ultimately my doctor could make the final call. So I haven't heard anything back from my doctor. I mean, it was only yesterday, and I have an appointment with her tomorrow. I have a feeling she's gonna stick with the 38 weeks. She's more familiar, and he also once again said, as well as your platelet levels, like if I go to 39 weeks, I'm pretty sure my platelet levels will be too low. So it's kind of a toss-up. I already have it in my mind that I'm giving birth next week, even though I'm sitting here terrified about the delivery process. But we've got everything ready for him, so he's ready. He can come whenever he's ready, so. Or when the doctor makes him come, which she called an eviction notice, which I thought was hilarious. I know I've heard other people refer to it, but just hearing a doctor say like, I'm giving your baby an eviction notice was kind of funny. So I will just give a quick bump shot. I feel like you can't tell, like everyone will say that they can notice when the baby drops. I've tried to look at pictures to see the difference, and I don't see it in pictures, I just feel it. But anyways, maybe you guys can tell, because he definitely has dropped. It's been confirmed, but well, we'll see. So yeah, it's gotten a bit more obvious that I'm pregnant. I know for a long time didn't really look that pregnant, but there he is. And that's the end of my very long pregnancy update. I feel like I've gone through a lot of emotions in the last week, a lot of appointments. I have four including tomorrow this week, and 3 next week, plus a possible, very likely induction. Crazy. How am I about to like be a mom? This is just, what? Like, I realize I've grown a baby in here, but I don't know. I hear it's normal to be like, are you sure that there's going to actually be a baby at the end of all of this? So wish me a good luck in this delivery. I will hopefully do an update on a birth story. I'm not sure how much filming there's going to be on the process. If I'm induced, I might do a quick little clip of me before I go for induction. Maybe a few clips if we're allowed to film it all in the hospital. We'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear kind of thing. And that's about all for now. So remember that no matter what your financial situation is, have a great day. Bye.